Good Sunday morning to you and welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. The Democratic race for mayor in Bridgeport is also turning into a real nail-biter, pitting one state lawmaker against another. In a city plagued by corruption and scandal, including the current mayor's admitted cocaine use while in office,
I'm disgusted, I'm frustrated, I'm angry.
State Representative Christopher Caruso says his mayoral campaign is more like a crusade against corruption and what he calls the political machine.
I'm taking on Bill Finch, I'm taking on John Fabrizi, because John Fabrizi has endorsed Bill Finch. You know, birds of a feather flock together. That's my district.
But State Senator Bill Finch says he's not the problem, Caruso is.
My opponent really draws a line in the sand with people, and we don't do that. What we're trying to do is build bridges.
Bridges, Finch accuses his competitor of burning. As for Caruso's anti-corruption campaign, that, Finch says, is just talk.
If there were an accident right behind us today, he would blame corruption for the accident.
And with the current mayor, John Fabrizi, out of the race between Finch and Caruso is really too close to call. And in a city where Democrats outnumber Republicans 11-1, whoever wins the Democratic primary will most likely go on to becoming the city's next mayor.
I hope I can have your vote.
With so much at stake, both touted some of their endorsements.
I was endorsed by the Bridgeport Post today because I'm the person that has delivered.
But today, local communication workers delivered their own endorsement.
We have to make a change, and Chris is a bright light in a very dim room.
But as we already know, voters will have the final say. And here now for a closer look, our Hartford current columnist, Mr. Kevin Rennie, and Fox 61 reporter and Assistant Dean of Communications at Quinnipiac University. Rick Hancock, did we have to say that both times? Is that like in your contract to be on the show? All right, moving on here, though. I have to tell you, I was speaking to both of these candidates off camera, and I have to say they really don't like each other. Not at all.
You know, since I don't cover the Capitol as much as I used to, not at all, I can say some things I couldn't say before. It's tough. Chris Caruso, Representative Caruso, is tough guy to, you know, wrap your arms around, not because of his girth, but just, it's a tough guy
to
wrap
hard to figure out.
It's
very combative.
It's very, very combative.
Personal, often ad hominem, and you know, he lives in a world of saints and sinners. Most people are sinners, and he's a saint.
Well, he's looking at it as he's fighting the political machine, but let's face it, there's some diplomacy involved in politics, and you have to know how to get along with one and another. And that was the thing, like he's burned bridges, including the governor. So how... Critics have said, how is he going to be able to get money for Bridgeport when he's got the governor so mad at him?
If Bridgeport truly wants change from from the bad things that have gone on, he's the one they should vote for. He is truly change.
I would caution about change. I once worked for a mayor who had a cocaine problem as well. And when he was removed from office, he was replaced by a reformer, someone who talked about change. Running a big city government is no joke. It's a very difficult task. And just saying you want change is not necessarily going to get the job done. And the more you expose what's wrong, the more people are going to expect you to fix the problems. And that's something he has to worry about.
Well, let's look a little bit about the candidates again. Here we have a little bit of a resume graphic there for you. We can start with either Senator Finch or Caruso. Both, again, are state lawmakers. There's Bill Finch. He is a father, has 4 children. He's been a Bridgeport state senator since 2000, a former city council member. He says that he was endorsed by the city newspaper in Bridgeport and also the New York Times because he can deliver. He can get the job done. Let's move on to Caruso. Again, his only job is as state representative, which is really a part-time job. He was born and raised in Bridgeport, and he has been a state representative since 1991. Lives a simple life, shall I say, where he says he's able to live off the salary.
With his mom.
He lives with his mom, but he says he does this so that he can devote his time to being a state representative, which, what do they make, 28,000, 30,000?
He might make a little bit more because he's been there for a while, right?
No, well, he's a committee chairman.
He's a committee chair.
But it's not a lot. He clearly loves politics, and you know, Bill Finch is more of the organization man. I have to say this for Chris Caruso, who personally I'm not that fond of, but he has scared the daylights out of the Democratic organization in Bridgeport, and that needs to be done, and it hasn't been done, and so he has performed an important public service, And if he is elected or wins the primary on Tuesday and then is elected in November, I really think Chris Caruso will have made an important contribution to Bridgeport just by winning.
But some have said if Caruso does win, that Fabrizi's going to run because he can't stand Caruso. And there's some validity to that. In November is an independent.
No, November.
That's the word.
Yeah, that's the word that I'm hearing as well. He could be a petitioning candidate. You know, down in Waterbury, you had Georgia win as a write-in. So I guess almost anything in Connecticut politics.
You know why he doesn't like? The reason Fabrizi doesn't like Chris Caruso is that Fabrizi wants to get a job with the city of Bridgeport when his term is over, and Chris Caruso is unlikely to do that.
Oh, that's.
That could be. I can't read his mind, but that's one theory.
Unlike the Hartford race, this is a competitive race. They both have gotten big-time endorsements by unions, various unions. They'll get the machine out.
And the Lieberman, this is the Lieberman-Lamont race is back because Finch was one of 2 legislators to stick with Lieberman through November. Caruso endorsed Lamont, and there are some Lamont people who have come in to help run the Caruso campaign. They know how to win Democratic primaries.
So who wins?
That one's going to be a little bit tougher.
This one's actually a closer race than Hartford.
Oh, much closer.
Hartford has the drama behind it.
By all accounts,
because of the ongoing investigation,
really
but this is tough to tell, isn't it?
Close.
You know, but I think that, again, I think if people are looking at, bottom line, I know Chris Caruso, Representative Caruso is focusing on, and your piece mentioned what Bill Finch responds, everything can't be about corruption. It will come down to who can fix the roads, who can lower property taxes, because that is a problem down there in Fairfield County and Bridgeport especially, who can pick up the trash. It's going to come down to those nuts and bolts issues. Who can really move the city forward in that direction, economic development.
If you had to pick your druthers on record, come on, let's make some predictions here.
I will, just because I'll say Caruso by a little bit.
I'm going to say Bill Finch because he's a blogger.
That's your only reason? Just to make it interesting?
He's a
and again, we also want to tell our folks.
Hey, a fellow who lives with his mom ought to get something for that, don't you think?
Ooh, that's hard.